There's been a kidnapping. It's Rachel, the daughter of the president of Cercia. Get into the castle and rescue Rachel.
Sometime, somewhere, someone is plotting a government overthrow. A small republic is in danger. It's time for the one-man army. Richard Miller. She must be dead by now.
Don't come!
Rachel McPherson.
Since you have traveled so very far, be my guest and let me entertain you.
Sharudo Gato. Just to be sure. Wild Dog. Time Crisis.
Your father will pay the price for destroying the Imperial rule.
Alright. Good morning, everyone. This is Theopponent again. I'm about to play Time Crisis 1, 2, and 3 back to back. And, I didn't want to interrupt that intro because it's iconic, but I think enough has been introduced about Time Crisis as a concept, so let's begin. So, I think I can talk a little bit about what Time Crisis 1, its historical context after this cutscene.
This nation will soon be mine. The taste of revenge is sweet. Your father will pay the price for destroying the Imperial rule. What happened?
We've been invaded.
What?
Never mind. My men will gun him down. There! Shoot him!
And speaking of light gun game characters saying what all the time, that's one of my favorites. So, as is mentioned before, there's the Time Crisis Zone. What sets these games apart is you have a pedal for taking cover and reloading your weapon. Well, this game came out, I think, 1994, even though it says 95. It was created by Namco in response to Sega's Virtua Cop, because while the Sega's place in the console wars is pretty well documented and well known, slightly less known is the war they were at with Namco in the arcades. They were always trying to one-up each other in the 90s, and with light gun games, Namco saw Virtua Cop and determined what they needed was some way to actually prevent damage. And that's what the pedal is for. Also, significantly deviating from the Virtua Cop formula is there are no hostages in this game. Everything exists to be destroyed. You can see there to save some time. And unlike later games in this series, which are easier to find and perhaps more famous, time is actually a factor here. There's no scoring system at all in this game. You go for the fastest time. That's it. You do whatever it takes to shave off milliseconds from your total time. And that means shooting enemies 3 times so they despawn faster, destroying bombs in the environment, memorizing everything. Especially since some enemies will hit you before you can react to them, so you just have to memorize all the places that happens. So while the pedal that makes you completely invincible sounds more fair, that's not to say it actually is fair. You still need to memorize a lot. Anyway, I'm using a Sinden light gun, which was mentioned in the Crisis Zone run. I bought it while it was still in crowdfunding, and I'm really happy that I did. It's really good. When it works. Which is to say, I don't have any problems with it, but I also had to make a significant, I had to make significant changes to my living space anytime I want to actually use it. Because it draws a white border around the game window. You can't see it, but 1% of my my screen is covered up by a white border so that the infrared camera inside the gun can actually work. Here's a time-saving trick. Shoot that vendor 6 times, and that screen will end a lot sooner. And shoot that. I think world record time on this game is under 10 minutes. Don't know all the tricks yet. GunCon 3? I don't own a GunCon 3. I do have a PlayStation Move though, so I could play Raising Storm on the PlayStation 3. I intend to one of these days.
It's a trap! Oh no!
A friend of mine really likes that line. And bosses in Time Crisis 1 specifically are pretty straightforward. Shoot a single guy a couple of times. I'm gonna take it safe because I want a 1cc on this game. Rip that pot. I want to save time, just memorize where that guy is gonna land. This to me is the most iconic cutscene coming up. The targets are behind me. This is a 360-degree gallery.
It's all over. The girl's at the top of that tower. She must be dead by now.
Yeah, he's shooting at you, the audience, like so many movie posters. Speaking of which, Time Crisis 1 is probably the first arcade game that really goes for a Hollywood blockbuster feel. Went to incredible lengths to really feel like an action hero. Because while Virtua Cop is meant to be a simulation, this is more like you had to actually do police stuff, and that the justice shots in that game are meant to reinforce the idea that policemen are trying to take the villains in non-lethally so they can be taken in alive and rehabilitated, reintegrated into society. But this is Virtua Action Hero. You're not trying to do any of that, you're just trying to save the girl. It's a shortcut. If you watch too much of that, you'll lose a life. Take my word for it, it's cool. Even more environmental destruction that Virtua Cop didn't really account for. I took a hit. Forgot about that. I should have though. Should know better. Should also mention that unlike every game that followed this one in Time Crisis, running out of time will end the game immediately. And in the PS1 port, if you get game over, you have to restart the stage. But the PS1 port also has this special stage, a completely new campaign. Namco like to really go all the way, adding stuff to their home versions. But that game also had a ton of branching paths depending on your performance overall. It's a cool scene that no other light gun game at the time had. A dark scene where you had to use your muzzle flash to see anything. I'm running low on time. This is the first one I saw. I was lucky enough to have an arcade in 95 or 96 or so. You saw that trailer, you saw the opening, which is a movie trailer. There was nothing else like it. It made me a fan for life instantly when I saw it when I was 7 or so. Get this way. Couldn't get the yellow guy. I should have 59 seconds at this point. It's usually around here I get a hit from the blue guy. There's no warning sign when someone will actually hit. The red guys will always hit, but as rank goes up, the blue guys will start hitting too, and it's impossible to see which ones will. And speaking of sound design, the sound your gun makes changes depending on whether you're outdoors or in a tight corridor like this. Easier to notice when you can actually hear everything outside of an arcade. Now, I'm guaranteed to lose at least one life in this boss fight, because you can't react to anything. I might even just lose the credit here.
My name is
I usually do.
I rule this nation now. So, you are the fool who came to rescue Rachel. Since you have traveled so very far, be my guest and let me entertain you. Action!
He's hurting now. I took a hit. Bunch of dudes all come up at once. Told you I'd lose the credit here. All because I was delayed a little bit. I think the stage is harder than stage 3. Yeah, just shoot in advance. I always take a hit on that guy. All the 1cc runs, all the why did I lose two credits here? Time is your time on the bottom right is still going up even as you're waiting to continue. That's how much time matters in this.
How could you? You killed my boss. What do I do now?
What do I do now?
Let things end this way. Since I have the upper hand, having the girl and all, I'll press my luck. You wait here.
I actually have what it takes to cosplay as a wild dog, but never got around to it. Speaking of action heroics, he just does this. It's funny to think that, in my opinion at least, Richard Miller has more character and personality than any other Time Crisis protagonist, and he never speaks. Now, every run I see, it shoots at a helicopter before it leaves. I don't really know why, but if they do it, I figure I should too. Edge targets are hard to hit. My calibration needs work. Or it might be all the lights I have turned on interfering with my camera signal. I normally don't play with my LED lights turned on. I like the consistency of the red guy operating the turrets, because they will always hit. I don't know a safe way to engage the helicopter. I think it's just take a bunch of shots and hope you don't get hit first. I don't know the correct place to hide on that. Really upset I lost that credit in a place I shouldn't have. I'm taking all the hits. This scene looks intimidating, but it's really not. Even if it starts with 3 red guys. Because it seems like it's draining all of your time, but you really just have to memorize all the positions. But if you miss any of them, you'll be waiting a long time for them to pop up again. I got distracted. Why doesn't he just take better cover? If you come out while the box is passing through, you'll take damage. I'm 20 seconds slow from my previous time. That's really embarrassing. This screen just really baffles me too. I'm actually not sure what the optimal order is here. I hit from that. Also, it seems like you're not actually invincible the moment you release the pedal, only a little bit afterward. Puts even more pressure on you to memorize everything. It's also not true in later games, so they made it a little bit more fair then. I love the guys who decide to come down on a pole, completely vulnerable and shooting in 360 degrees, hoping that you'll be in their line of fire by the time they hit the ground. Jump for this. And also, the guys sitting in these sci-fi closets. What were they waiting in there for? Should have 59 seconds at the end of this, because this is a really long cutscene, meant to drive the tension up. You're just not allowed to do anything. This is the only scene like this in the game, and an appropriate place to put it. So you only have like 44 seconds by the time you get to act. Also the worst cover of all time. Cover that fights back. That's how desperate the situation is. Any cover will do, even this. I want to just once hit the guy on the way down. Now, if I was actually on my game today, this would be the place I'd lose my credit, not 3 times in stage 2 boss and earlier.
You're finally here to save me. Let's end this once and for all.
What did the wild dog mean by that? He's not the one being saved.
Just to be sure. Freeze! Both you and this stinking castle can burn for all I care. So long.
Let me go!
Hold it.
Yeah. Look here. Richard shows exactly 1 emotion. That's all he needs. Now this boss, as far as I can tell, complete luck. You have to just guess what side he's gonna come out hit him before he hits you. This can be within frames of his appearance. I'm just guessing right now. It's random. Okay. See how he looks back? That's camera work. That's storytelling. She'll be fine from there. There's some skeet shooting on that grenade he throws up to save some time. I got hit anyway. The final boss is actually pretty easy too. It's really embarrassing. The last stand of the Clawman. That's the last we'll ever see of him. Now here, it's just memorize the positions he can come out. There's only 3. It's a little bit hard to see. Just look closely, you'll see it. Anytime he's in that position, he throws a grenade right afterward. Then he tries to jump kick you in the face. Take that. See? Easy. I could have done that if only I actually paid attention in the middle of the game. Kind of a thing though that as iconic as Wild Dog is, probably more than any other Time Crisis character, this is the only game in which he's the final boss. That was Time Crisis 1. But this game so much wanted to be Hollywood blockbuster that it was only for 1 player. Pretty much every other light gun game at the time was for 2 players on 1 screen. And then once this game became hugely successful for Namco, they were able to address that with the next game coming up. Yeah, as soon as I put my initials in, if the game will even let me, I'll begin Time Crisis 2. 'Cause the song is just too good. I just remember for many, many years in MAME, it loaded, but was not at a playable frame rate. And then one year it just was. But I had to wait a few years more for a gun to play it with. Because while the PS1 port, I'm pretty sure, sold pretty well, it also only ran at 30 FPS. But the PS1 port also has a Spanish fan translation complete with a Spanish fan dub, and may not be able to understand the dub, but that dub was actually really good. Why was that worth 7 skill points? I don't know how the skill point system works. 15 damage. That means I continued 5 times? Alright, stand by for Time Crisis 2. Stay tuned on the Coin Op Classic, brought to you by Retro Gaming Live TV.